Welcome back, Math 0965, to Part B of your last section, 6.6 in Chapter 6. All right, let's start at letter H. Okay. H and I seem to give my students a lot of trouble when they're trying to recall how to solve these quadratics. Remember, it's a quadratic because your highest exponent is a 2, right? And so, what do we do here? All of these need to be set equal to 0. And that's going to be your first step. When I'm setting these equal to 0, that means I would be subtracting that 4x to both sides of the equation, right? It should look like this when we are solving. And now this should look familiar. It's a binomial, and it does have a GCF. That GCF is x. Take that x out, and I'm left with x minus 4. And now this is what we've been looking for. Something times something is equal to 0. That means one of those things is equal to 0, right? One or both. So final answer, x equals 0, or x minus 4 equals 0. And when we solve the second equation, we know that the two possibilities we have here are 0 and 4 for our answers. All right, very good. Let's do letter I as well so that we can again be sure what to do when these problems look strange, right? First thing we're going to do is subtract that 5x so that it's set equal to 0, always, right? It's a binomial, right? I don't see a letter C as a constant to do AC method or anything like that, but I do see a GCF, and the GCF is x here. So I've set it equal to 0, and now I can use 0 product property. Something times something is equal to 0, which means one of those things, or both, are equal to 0. Right? So my first answer is x equals 0. My second one, well, I need to do a little more work. We'll start by adding 5 to both sides. And then when I divide by 2, my second answer is x is equal to 5/2, right? So as a reminder, keep your fractions as improper and don't change them to decimals or mixed numbers. Alrighty. We can go to letter K just to change it up a little bit. It's a quadratic, and it is not set equal to 0. So the very first thing I would do is move everything to the left by subtracting 4 and subtracting x, right? Let's leave it in descending order. 3x squared minus x minus 4 should equal 0. All right, and so on the side here, you would be doing some AC method where you're looking for factors of 12 that subtract to give you 1. Another option here is to go ahead and do some guess and check, right? So I know for sure that 3x, right, the way to get that 3x squared is going to be 3x times x. And so you could play around here with a 2 and a 2 to give you that 4, or we could do the 4 and the 1 and reverse the order. So, right, AC method, which you could do, right, or guess and check. You're going to decide here. And once you do your work, you're going to figure out that it's 3x minus 4 and x plus 1 to give you 0. And now you have something times something equal to 0. We know that one or both of those things are equal to 0. Right? And so the first answer, it looks like I'm going to get a fractional answer here. When I add 4 to both sides and then divide by 3, one of my answers is going to be 4/3. And then when I subtract 1 over here, my other answer is an x equal to -1, right? 2 answers. All right, great. Alrighty, which ones look like could be challenging? Let's look at M or N or O here. Let's see. Let's go for letter O. Looks like it's a little bit more work. Let's see. The very first thing I notice is that it's not set equal to 0, right? So I know that that is going to change, right? So if I subtract 14 and subtract 14, what do I have now? Let's see, x minus 1 times x plus 4 minus that 14 is going to equal 0, right? Looking a little complicated here. Let's simplify the left-hand side. Go ahead and FOIL your parentheses here. What should our next line be? Let's see, x squared plus 4x minus 1x minus 4 minus 14 is 0. And the trinomial we end up with is x squared plus 3x minus 18 is equal to 0. Okay, and so this should be an easy method to factor this, right? Factors of 18 that are going to subtract to give me 3. Well, let's see, x and x. Factors of 18 are going to be 6 and 3. That subtract to give me 18. I need to end up with a positive 3x, right? And so, let's see. That would give me a positive 6 and a negative 3. And when I'm solving for x, one of those things is going to equal x. Final answers are going to be x equals -6 and x equals positive 3. Okay, so they always look a little more challenging than they actually are. Let's do one more on this page. Let's see, problem P and Q are similar, okay? The only thing about Q is that it's not set equal to 0. So you would start that problem by getting the whole thing equal to 0. Let's look at P that's already set up this way. So a little reminder on factoring, right? I'm checking for a GCF. I don't seem to have one here. I could definitely do AC method, 4 times 121, which would give me, let's see, 484. Boy, that would be a lot of work looking for factors of 484 that add together to give me 22. So this is a nice reminder that sometimes when our problems look really overwhelming, one of the things we want to check is if it's a perfect square trinomial. Perfect square trinomials are the same binomial multiplied times itself. And how do we know if they're perfect square trinomials? Well, one of the first things we're going to check is that the leading term and that the constant are both perfect squares. So when we go back and check, let's see, 4x squared, yeah, 2x times 2x gives me 4x squared. How about 121? Is that a perfect square? Yes, it is. 11 times 11 is a perfect square. It's a perfect square trinomial if I multiply these two together and then double it to give me the middle term. So let's check. When I multiply this, I'm at 22x. And then when I double it, right, times 2, I do get 44x. So it is a perfect square trinomial. That gives me the hint on what should go in these parentheses, right? 2x times 2x is going to give me that 4x squared, and an 11 times 11 is going to give me the 121. Remember, the same rules apply. The signs need to be the same. What are they? It's going to be a plus and a plus. All right, so now it's set up the way I want it. Something times something is 0. What is that something? Well, 2x plus 11 equals 0. Right? And I'm going to subtract 11 from both sides. 2x is equal to negative 11. And when I divide by 2, right, I end up with one solution. X is equal to negative 11 halves. Some of the textbooks will give you a little area to write repeated afterwards. All right, so I hope that's been helpful. Let's do one application problem to get you situated with an application you might see in this section. All right, an explosion causes debris to rise vertically with an initial speed of 72 feet per second, right? Describes the height of the debris above the ground h in feet after t seconds, right? So t is going to be seconds in time, right? And h is going to be the height in feet. Right? So here we go. How long will it take for the debris to hit the ground? Right? So I have something that shoots up, right? Vertically, and then hits the ground. How long does this take to happen? So what's the question here? For something to hit the ground, what is the height, right? What is the height down here? Well, the height is 0 feet, right? There's no height there if something's on the ground. Where would that go in our problem? Well, here's the equation. H equals negative 16t squared plus 72t, right? So if the height is 0, that 0 needs to go where h is at. And now I have an equation that looks like this. Can you solve that for t? Absolutely, right? Some people want to rewrite that so that it looks more like the other problems. If you want to, go ahead and do that. Okay, so let's go up here to give us a little more room. Negative 16t squared plus 72t is equal to 0, right? Same problem. Leading term is negative. I know that negative is coming out. So a negative something. What else do they have in common? Well, 16 and 72 have an 8 in common. And it looks like they at least have one t in common. Negative 8t is our GCF. We are left with 2t. Change that sign. Minus 9 equals 0. Right? So let's solve that. Let's see, something times something is equal to 0. Let's go ahead and solve. Negative 8t equals 0, or 2t minus 9 is equal to 0. When we solve these for t, I end up with t equals 0. Right? And on this side, let's see, I'll add 9 to both sides. 2t equals 9. When I divide by 2, t equals 4.5. So, what does this mean in our problem? Well, t is time, right? Time is 0 seconds here, and time here is 4.5 seconds. Let's look back at our diagram. When is the height equal to 0? Well, the height is 0. When t equals 0, that means when we started, right? It started at the ground. And then how long did it take to hit the ground again, right? That took 4.5 seconds. All right, so I hope that helps with number 70. 71, when will the debris be 32 feet above the ground? You know where that 32 is going to go. It's going to go in the height. All right, so good luck, and let me know what questions you have on this section.